Okay, listen. So yesterday we talked about slope. What we said was that if two lines have the same slope, then they must be parallel. So we said parallel lines, they have the same slope. M is the symbol for slope, right? What did we say about lines that have perpendicular? What did we say about the slope of lines that are perpendicular? What did we say? Their slopes are negative reciprocals. Awesome. Negative reciprocals. Reciprocal. Okay? Reciprocals. Okay? So how do you find the negative reciprocal? What do? You
flip the fraction of the sign.
Excellent. So flip the fraction, and then you can change the sign. So let's do an example or two. We did a couple yesterday, but we're going to do a couple more right now. Do them over again. Negative 1 over 3. What's the negative reciprocal of negative 1 over 3? Positive 3 over 1. We flip the fraction and we change the sign. It doesn't mean that it's got to be negative. It means that it has to be different from the original sign, right? So this one was negative, so this one is positive. All right, and then what about 1? How do we flip and change? Exactly, negative 1 over 1. So that means if you have a graph of y equals x and the graph of y equals negative x, describe these two lines. Are they parallel? Are they perpendicular? Or are they neither? Y equals x, y equals negative x. All right, let's try this again. 1 over 1. How do you get the negative reciprocal? You flip the fraction, change the sign. It's negative 1, right? Okay. So the slope of this line would be 1. The slope of this line would be negative 1. Look up here at these two expressions. What's the slope of this line? Y equals x. 1. What's the slope of this line? Y equals negative x. Negative 1. Are these lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Perpendicular. They're perpendicular. Cool? So that's kind of an exception to the rule. It's not really an exception. It is an apparent exception. Mason, I'm looking at your face because I'm trying to get that light out of your face. Does that work? Or that's just me standing in front of it? Okay. Let me go a little further. Ah, there we go. Got it. You look like you're I'm just going to go all the way down. Here we go. These blinds could use a little WD-40, I think. Okay. Okay, so then let's do an example. Listen, if I'm just given 2 points, how could I find out if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither? What would I have to do? Yes, I'm going to have to calculate the slope. So let me calculate the slope for this line AB. So the slope of AB, what would I do? I just use this expression, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It would be really useful to you. I'm not saying this just as your teacher. I'm saying this to you as like a human being. It is very difficult not to make some kind of a switcheroo here and get confused about what is what. So look at the 2 points and immediately label them, okay? This is x1. That's the first x I see. I'm labeling it x1. This is y1. I'm going to label it that way. This is x2, y2. Are you with me on that? So I'm just labeling them so that I can put this number in the correct spot. You're like, Mr. S, that is really pedantic. Yeah, it is. But this is a thing that you keep screwing up over and over again. Not just you, but every class throughout history and throughout time. This is the thing that we mess up. So why don't we be more explicit, right? And more careful about what we do with regard to these numbers. So just label them right away. So y1, y2, y1 goes here. So I'm going to do 6 minus 3 over 2 minus a minus 2. 2 minus a minus 2 is 4. and this is 3. So the slope is 3 over 4. With me on that? All right, let's calculate the slope for CD. So slope of CD, that is 3 minus 0 over, what goes on the bottom? 3 minus a minus 1. So this is x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2, right? So 3 minus a minus 1 is, that's 4. You would think, yeah, that's, again, that sign errors are really common with these. That's why your test is going to be on paper, so that I can catch one of your errors and see that the process is good, and I'll give you lots of points for the process being correct. It's called an error carried forward. If I see you make that sign error at the beginning, you're still going to get points, even though you made your sign error, okay? So 3 minus 0 is 3. So if I compare the two slopes from these two lines, what would I conclude? They're parallel, exactly, because their slopes are the same. All right, let's talk about the gallery walk for a second. So when I put you to the task of the gallery walk, here's what I want. If you have, I'm not going to pick this expression, I'm going to write a new one. Y equals, let's say, 1/3, negative 1/3 x plus 2. Let's say I have this expression. What I'm asking you to do is to write a line that is perpendicular to this. Let's do that now.
Can we write like that one?
Right, you're going to graph this one. Sure, graph it. And then graph a line that is perpendicular to it. What would the expression of that line be? Positive 3x. And you could pick any intercept you want, because the intercept does not affect whether or not it is perpendicular. Only the slope does that. So I could say minus 2. So this line is perpendicular to this one. Okay, that's the symbol for perpendicular. With me so far? If I wanted a line that was parallel to this line, if I want a line that is parallel, what would I write? Y equals what?
1/3 x.
Negative 1/3. It has to be the same sign as well. Don't forget that negative.
And then just a different.
Yeah, a different intercept. What would happen if I picked the same intercept?
It would just be
It's the same line, right? So we have to pick a different intercept. Let's call it plus 4. Okay, so I've got my perpendicular line. I've got my parallel line. So then my graph should look something like this. Negative 1/3 is the original line. My perpendicular line has a positive slope of 3, so it's going the opposite direction. When they intersect, that should be a 90-degree angle. And then the parallel line is just like the original, but boosted up 2. So it has a different intercept. So it should look something like that when I'm finished.